Okay, Tommy Prichard going up against Mike Miller now. One fall, 10-minute time limit. Prichard in the blue trunks, giving away some weight, some height, some size here. But he has got a lot of get up and go. He's a very, very, very hard-charging young competitor. Miller will not move quite as swiftly as Prichard. There you see it. Good drop toe hold by Prichard. Takes Miller back to the canvas. Miller very quickly gets to the ring ropes and forces the break. Interesting note, too, that I think is Bear is talking about right now, Rod, is the fact that, and you would know, I guess, better than anyone, being in the ring as often as you are, that many times when things occur in that ring through physical pain, that suddenly tempers unleash themselves totally. And that situation has happened now between Buzz Sawyer and Kevin Sullivan. I understand those two are really after each other.
You know, and that's when really the damage begins. You know, it is so hard to keep your composure as a fighter, but most important, isn't it, Mr. Soli? Because after all, if you look, nice tackle by Miller there.
Leapfrog by Miller up and over his man. Prichard was set and ready for him. Came down from a... Caught him. Boy, what versatility. But now the two of them exploding. And this is just about exactly what I was talking about a moment ago when suddenly tempers flare. And boy, they have really exploded on each other.
Boy, what great move. Just like you said there, one went for a move, missed, counter, one counter after another. Tremendous wrestling. That's exactly what you were saying, Mr. Soli. Tempers. You cannot let your tempers flare. And Sawyer and
Sullivan have just...
Yes, they have just let that happen. And that's being so young, Sawyer, against another master like Sullivan. It's really going to be interesting to see what's going to happen.
Indeed it is. Miller now with a side headlock, and Prichard trying to break it up. Moves it, counters it into a top wrist lock, but Miller drives the knee into the small of the back. And so Prichard taking a lot of punishment here at the hands of one Mike Miller. Now it is Miller continuing to punish his man. Prichard off the ropes. Ooh! He drove that knee straight into the abdomen, doubled him up.
You can see where Miller, being the heavier of the two, you can see where his punches take, or his forearms rather, take a little more toll than Prichard's there. But Prichard, again, having more speed. Kick out! Missed that leg. Got it. Well, okay, listen to me. Oh!
Prichard now under the midsection. A good fireman carry takedown by Prichard into an inside armbar. Miller, utilizing those ring ropes once again, forces the break. So it was Prichard going back to the basics and Miller back to the ropes.
Which I guess goes to show you what your coaches always told you. That's why the basics are so important in anything you do. Is that true, Mr. Soli?
Precisely. Whether you're out there right now in spring training for the Little Leagues or Pony League or what have you, when that coach talks to you about how to slide into second base or how to hold that glove when you're behind the plate, that is critical. Learn those basics first.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can see what... Miller must have a good 40, 50 pounds on this Prichard, and the punches are tremendous, but what a punch this Prichard can take, because Miller's really been hammering on him. Oh, a little mistake there. Now, Miller might have got a quick count on him there, but he wasn't watching where he was, and consequently, Miller put his own opponent in the ropes. Not a good move.
And it's Miller still trying to dominate the situation on Tommy Prichard now with the front chancery. It'll be Prichard who had a loose hold on the near leg, but suddenly a good drop down. And as he did, control the arm and turned it into a hammerlock.
Beautiful. Now, Prichard's using his head here, Mr. Soli. The way he got out of there is using his own weight to his advantage and Miller's weight to his advantage. Now, that's the first time we see this. He shot his legs directly out using Miller's weight against his own arm and, of course, Prichard's weight against Miller's arm. Very, very smart.
Prichard in behind his man now, keeping the hammerlock. So Miller hard-pressed to find an escape from this one at the moment. Back to his feet, and Miller finds the only escape suitable, the ropes.
Good thinking, good thinking. You know, people think that, you see now, is he trying to do what we were talking about, Mr. Soli? Is he trying to get Miller to lose his temper there a little bit? I would say so. He had Miller against the ropes, just a slap in the back of the neck, not enough to hurt anybody permanently, just enough to make you hot, huh?
Exactly. And when you get angry, of course, that's when you make mistakes.
Mr. Soli, you're absolutely right. I would like to take this opportunity now to tell you what a pleasure it is here to be here with you, Mr. Soli. You are definitely the best wrestling commentator I have ever seen, because you know what you're talking about. You see, just like myself, and it is a pleasure to be here, and you're exactly right in what you just said.
Interesting combination now with Miller having Prichard up against those turnbuckles, and now brings him all the way across, smashes him into the opposite side turnbuckle, and so Miller beginning to dominate the situation here.
Nice takedown.
And they float over into a lateral press, but Prichard powers out. Now Prichard, by the way, ooh, nice move. He faked his man out beautifully that time, then caught him with a good drop kick, and now a series of hard right hands into the head of Mike Miller. Has Miller into the ropes. High backdrop by Tom Prichard, and so Mike Miller beginning to feel the total fury of young Tom Prichard. Prichard now press, and again he powers out. This is where extra strength on the part of Mike Miller is paying off for him.
Yes, absolutely. And in that flutter kick there that Mike Miller does, his own weight behind him does cause that much more force. And so it is a disadvantage for Prichard, but what a great job Prichard is doing here in controlling the weight of Mike Miller.
Certainly no question about that. He has been a dominant factor here in the match thus far. And yet, as you well know, that count of three, if your shoulders are down, it can be the shortest sounding count in the world.
Absolutely right, boy. You can happen so fast, you'd never believe the freezer. And that's why you see a lot of sneak pins, a lot of fast pins in wrestling. You can't, sometimes, you know, you misjudge. You're listening for the count. You're listening for that 1, 2. You might think 2 was 1, 2, 3. You just don't know sometimes. You get going and you just lose yourself. I don't, but some people do.
Tom Prichard now in behind. Double rear chin lock on Mike Miller. The referee now double checking, making sure that there's no choke involved. And it is...
Miller really needs to get aggressive here and go for that pin. Oh. Missed him.
Beautiful counter, though, nonetheless, by Prichard. He was stymied, countered by Miller. And he countered himself. Now both men back on their feet. Prichard off the ropes. Got that time he tried a cross body block. Miller caught him in flight, but Prichard rolled that to his own advantage. And Miller, I'm sure Miller's beginning to think that Prichard must have 6 arms and 6 legs.
Exactly right, Mr. Soley. But then again, I think, going for the backslide. Oh, nice counter to that. Look at the momentum, trying to get it. He got it. Good ball. He caught it.
Count of three.
I think Miller ran out of gas there a little bit.
Just that momentary count, and that's all it takes. And that, when your shoulders are down, can be the shortest sounding count in the world. But an outstanding victory, a great match, and there's your victory.